You really think you have a chance against us, Mr. Cowboy?
Hey, motherfucker. What do you like to do?
Oh, I don't know. Play chess. Screw.
Well, let's play chess.
They give off to Jonathan Taylor. Jump cutting his way. Close to the goal line. He's in there. Touchdown. I-N-D-Y. Jonathan Taylor.
Wheeler finds Quan from the logo.
Here's Halliburton into the front court. Mishandled it, but gets a shot. Hits it! Hits it!
John, I have never been better to be on the air with you here in Indianapolis, a place where so many of my dreams have come true.
The Ride with JMV on 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Here's an RPO tipped up into the air, picked up by the Colts at the 5-yard line, and they've got the ball. They tipped it up into the air and intercepted. Latu. It's his third interception this season, and the Colts are tackled inside the 5 as Latu tipped up into the air, caught the ball on the carom, and it's up in and around the 3-yard line, and that's where the Colts will start 1st and 10. Second down and goal at the 6. Jones out of the gun, ball on the left hash, backs the throw, looking, throws right, caught the goal line, and that's a touchdown for the Colts, Michael Pittman Jr. This is second down and goal at the 4. Jones out of the gun, Taylor the back left, in motion down to the right side is Ogletree. Back in to throw is Jones, looking, fires into the end zone, and it's a catch for a touchdown, and it's Drew Ogletree. Kansas City can get a first down without scoring a touchdown. Now they got 3 people in the backfield with Mahomes, one on either side, and behind him is Kareem Hunt. They give it to Hunt, who jumps over the pile at the goal line, and he's in. Kareem Hunt with a touchdown, and the Chiefs will not go quietly. Their season is on the brink at 5-5, and now they have pulled within 5 on the scoreboard. It's 20-15, Colts over Kansas City with 8:37 to go in the game. Mahomes out of the gun, 3 receivers deployed to the right side, backs to throw, looking, fires, end zone, caught. Rashee Rice, 2-point conversion, good, and it's a field goal game now at Arrowhead. Kansas City going right to left in your mind's eye. Mahomes in his own end zone looking to pass. Throws over the middle, run after the catch. 25, 30-yard line, over the far sideline. 40, 45, 50-yard line, and being pushed out of bounds is Rashee Rice as he caught a dart over the middle by Patrick Mahomes and used that speed to burn for a big play to the 50-yard line for a gain of 47 yards. Butker with a 25-yard field goal. Snap placement, kick is up, and it is good. And that'll be the final play of regulation. The game is now tied at 20, and we're going to overtime. Alston Ejike into the game, perhaps spying on Patrick Mahomes, who drops the throw, plants, steps up into the pocket, launches it downfield, and he's got a man that's Worthy with a huge catch into Colts territory. He made the reception on Charvarius Ward. Worthy is tackled inside Colts territory around the Indianapolis 46-yard line. But Butker out of the timeout, measures it up again. This is from 27 yards in overtime. Game tied at 20. Snap, placement, kick is up, and it is good for the Chiefs. And they win in walk-off fashion in overtime. It's the Kansas City Chiefs 23 and the Indianapolis Colts 20.
Matt Taylor and Joe Reitz yesterday. That was your game call on the Colts Radio Network, and that was one hell of a disappointing finish. And through 3 quarters, it looked so good. And you know what was amazing about it? If you followed Kansas City, and it's tough not to because they're constantly under the national spotlight, and why not? But if you followed Kansas City the entire year, that's how they looked all season long throughout those 3 quarters. Just really nothing like what we have witnessed in the past. But into the 4th quarter, it wasn't even so much Kansas City flexing and taking over. It was a complete coaching and playing disappearing act by the road team. I was talking to Jake a moment ago, and this just goes to show you how not ready for prime time this group is at the moment. I also said to Jake, what this did was reinforce a lot of the questions that we didn't really knock around here because you want to believe in what you see. They're still 8-3, right? But you're 8-2, and everybody nationally is suggesting that this is smoke and mirrors or a mirage. Now, we've watched it all. They've looked a hell of a lot better than they have in those moments when they haven't. And I'll further break that down in just a second. But everything nationally anybody had said, and around here we end up shaking our fist at and say like me because, I guess I speak with a local amount of arrogance here with those nationally. Who gives a crap? You guys never pay attention anyway. Same damn thing with the Pacers. Nobody ever pays attention until it really matters, until the quarterback retires 5 seconds before the start of the season, or, when you've got some significant set of circumstances going on. That's the only time anybody around here ever gets paid attention to nationally. That's okay. I mean, we're on this all the time, so we did view this a little bit differently. But now I have to ask myself, maybe we didn't. Because all of those issues that had been talked about and highly scrutinized nationally, I think were reinforced by the Colts in the fourth quarter and then the overtime yesterday, and that's highly unfortunate. I'm not going to sit here and say anybody needs to be fired or the season is lost or everything sucks and blah, blah. You know what? They're 8-3, and you are still in control. But you have to take control if, and here is where the reinforcement applies, if you're capable, if what everybody else says is not accurate, if our local arrogance was not right. If, starting with Houston at home coming up on Sunday. And we'll get into, well, this really hurts them in terms of, the overall top seed in the AFC. I mean, they haven't won this division since 2014. I mean, hell, nobody's holding their breath on that right now. So we can get into that top seed discussion at some other point. This team, this quarterback, and this coach, man, when things are going right, they're humming. And we bear witness to that, especially in the first half. When they came out of the first half, I mean, he was a step ahead offensively. What do the kids say today? He was in his bag. That's not at all how I end up taking in that particular description. I laugh at it a little bit, but he was in his bag. Meaning everything he was doing was working. And we have seen that. That is a product when things are going well, when they are in rhythm, and there's nothing really to get through. This team is top-notch. But when you have to start fighting it a little bit, things become problematic. And that's one of the things you have to get over. And a lot of people would equate that to toughness. I don't necessarily know. I think that's easy street to take right there. I don't know if it comes down to toughness. I think it also comes down to, in this case, not being there and doing that before. I mean, this is some unfamiliar territory for a lot of these guys. But that just goes to show you just how major that game was, in that massive national court of public opinion. And you never want to, you want to go down swinging. And again, this sounds like cliche row, and I don't mean to, but it didn't seem like that the Colts did that. And I'll say this, for those of you that suggest that Shane Steichen didn't run Jonathan Taylor enough and went away from him late, you're absolutely right. Now, I would also tell you, outside of that 20-plus yard run, he was averaging like 2.1 on the ground. And I agree. I've touted him as the MVP, and he can bust one at any time. He's going to give you the second effort at any time. But what Kansas City and Steve Magnuolo, what they were doing, they were forcing the hand. They were saying, okay, what we're going to try to do here was, well, rattle the quarterback. We've seen him rattle before. We saw him rattle in Pittsburgh, saw him rattle in Berlin. We're going to rattle him even more. This is a team that rarely, if ever, got after the quarterback consistently this season, and they struggled most of the game with it. But when he started playing downhill and running the blitz and quicker decisions had to be made, that's when things started to go haywire. Not one, not two, not three, but 4 3-and-outs. And I think what's most egregious about the play calling and the way that offense was coached up is, all right, let's just say you go out there and you still get a 3-and-out. But if you run the football, at least you're going to run some clock. At least you do. That's the one thing I noticed when I was watching this yesterday with the bros, the Smiley bros, is it seemed like the eternity that the Chiefs had to get back in this in the fourth quarter, especially late in the fourth, became even more of that, if it can be. It was just a revolving door of defenses on the field and working and working and working and hand on the hips, and they're tired and clearly. And the offense comes back out, and 55 seconds later, they're giving the ball back to Kansas City's offense. That's what stood out to me. All of a sudden, and it's not because of this incredible defense. Kansas City forced the issue. And Kansas City said, all right, we're going to see if this new and improved this season Daniel Jones can beat you. And Shane Steichen said, well, you know what? He's a new improved Daniel Jones, so I damn straight bet he can beat you. And you know what? He didn't. They ended up beating themselves in a lot of ways. And that also can be frustrating because they already have a one-time beating themselves. Yeah, I guess you could call it 2 in terms of 6 turnovers in Pittsburgh, but the one time is, handing over the game against the team that probably is the best at this mark in the season in Southern California, and that's the LA Rams. I would suggest this, and a lot of people would say, well, you got to learn from this. There's something you got to learn from it. All right, well, go ahead and learn from it, but can you do it swiftly? Can you expedite the learning process here? Because, frankly, nobody has time to wait. You have prioritized the season and the measures you have taken to create this team. So there's not time to wait on this. You better digest that info and get set for a Houston team that just sacked Josh Allen 8 times on Thursday Night Football. And we're talking about an offensive line with pressure that has struggled. With a couple of veteran bookends in Pittsburgh. And now you're going to bring on board Hunter and Anderson. An incredibly thirsty Houston defense. You kind of created this now. If you're legit, you have to go out and do something about it. And that's everybody. That is the quarterback. That's the head coach. People are down on the defense. The one thing I would say about the defense is, and I know that it's not all going to happen as quickly as possible, like instantaneously. But I just had this play-making, big moment, big play-making vision, and didn't see that. That kind of stunk. I mean, everything else you can, if you want to, you can excuse. I mean, hell, they were on the field forever. And believe me, this was an offense, this was a coaching, and this was overall a team that's just simply put not ready for what they want to be right now. Not ready for it. And I thought we all witnessed that in part yesterday in the fourth and in overtime. If you're going to be legit, if you're going to be one of those elite teams, not just in the AFC, but in the NFL, you have to maintain some control late. You have to be able to put it away. It was weird, right? Normally, which was working, They passed to set up the run, get a lead to set up the run, and then once they had the lead, they did unfortunately go away from the run, and then once you saw the Kansas City defense feel incredibly comfortable with what the Colts were doing offensively, Steve Spagnuolo was a mile ahead of things, it seemed. Now, I didn't think that they were that great, that overwhelming, but they looked that way all of a sudden out there. And that, I think, stands to this particular reason. And you're going to see a lot more of that coming up on Sunday. You're going to see a lot more of that coming up from Jacksonville. The Seahawks have a good defense. I mean, your schedule that remains, you have some really quality defenses on it, and they're all watching what's going on here, and you are seeing a quarterback along with an offensive unit that can't handle not being in rhythm. Or, as I mentioned earlier, on Easy Street. Now, when things start going a little bit haywire around them, their operation goes haywire. So what do? Do you want to do that the entirety of the game? You just want to do that when you need it? Hey, listen, Kansas City was playing to save their season. But again, it's not like all of a sudden they jumped into the phone booth and came out with, an older, more cohesive version of Kansas City. Yeah, the Colts just kind of withered away in terms of coaching and playing. And again, if you have these expectations, if this is truly who you want to be or expect to be, you have to be better than that. Everybody was telling me last night, well, you got to fire this and fire that, and you got to cut this guy and cut that. You don't have to do anything like that. These guys have to recognize if you truly are who you want to be or who you expect to be, that ain't it in the fourth or the overtime. And that's coach included. For anybody that's ever suggested that Shane Steichen can take you here, but he can't take you higher than here, that was also reinforced yesterday. You had a lot of reinforcement with the team, with the quarterback, with the head coach, with the thought that their time is now. Well, the Daniel Jones, there's no way he can be the quarterback of the future. I got news for you. They traded 2 number ones. He is your quarterback of the future. He's just going to have to handle stuff better. And also, those of you asking, hell, I don't know. The only thing that I noticed yesterday, and I have a tough time trying to manage my own gait, right? I mean, I always walk with a limp anyway. I couldn't tell if his movability was compromised. The only thing that I noticed is on that first down scramble out of bounds when nobody was near him, I mean, he looked like he jumped into the old folks line right there. I mean, it's serious. It looked like he didn't just downshift. He he was almost in neutral, almost walking out of bounds. And you couldn't tell if he's maybe saving a little bit of something or knowing I'm not going to take a hit here, so I'm going to go out in the same spot, so I might as well cruise to this spot. That's really the only time that I noticed that. And if you remember correctly, the whole dynamic went from the calf strain or a calf situation to a compromised fibula, which I would guess, I'm not a doctor here or an orthopedic surgeon. A lot of good folks that listen to this show might be. But I think those are 2 dramatically different things. That was the only play that I really recognized. But to me, it was massively disappointing because I want this team to be ready for that. I'll give you a great example. I picked them to lose, right? 28-27. But I thought that they were going to go down swinging. I thought if Kansas City was going to win this game, that they were going to kind of have a rebirth of sorts, and we didn't see that. We just kind of saw, unfortunately, the Colts usher into or through the front door the Chiefs to save their season, much to the chagrin of everybody else in the AFC. Seriously, you could have put them down. And unfortunately, because of your lack of play, your lack of coaching, your lack of anything close to finishing at all, Now they're still going to linger. Had them down. That is incredibly unfortunate to me. Now, we got to hustle up today because I got to bail at 5:30. We have Colts Roundtable, and then the Pacers come up a little bit later on tonight. Holder's at 5 today, James. Stephen Holder of ESPN coming up at 5. We got a lot more for in this game. So if you're going to blame, what do we blame here? I guess I would have to ask you too, am I not putting enough on the defense? Are you mad because I'm not blaming the officiating? Listen, I thought the officiating was incredibly inept, but it was just like game-wide. That particular crew, I think, hoist more flags than any other crew in the NFL. They were all over the place. Arms are getting tired, but, hell, that had nothing to do with the way, kind of like what we're seeing right now when you're trying to mulch some leaves and get rid of them out of your yard before the rain later on tonight or tomorrow morning. The leaves they just fell off the tree, withered, and kind of blew away in the wind in the fourth. That's not the type of team that you expect them to be. That's not who they expect to be, because if you expect to be that, you don't go out and trade 2 number ones for Sauce Gardner. That's completely different. And there's no more, hey, that's okay, it's going to be all right, because we've been down that path before, and around here, until it's okay and all right, it's never okay and all right. Keep that in mind for not a damn thing. 239-1070. We got anything to give away in this short work week here, James? Are we completely nude this week? Am I nude before everybody in this audience?
We might be completely nude this week.
Oh, my goodness. Stark nudity from a giveaway. I can't give you guys bullseye stuff, though. So partial nudity. I'll keep this bad boy PG-13. You'll just see my rear end. That's it. Bullseye passes for what is going to be a great pregame party before the Big Ten championship game. Bucket game is coming up on Friday. We work until Wednesday. Bud Light Blue Wednesday, the annual event, is at Brothers in Broad Ripple. Let's all show up and have a hell of a time. Had a great weekend. I mentioned yesterday I was actually watching the game in and around McCordsville with the Smiley Bros. It's funny. They have to teach Dave Smiley everything. The second most popular DJ in Indianapolis, by the way, Dave Smiley. But they have to teach Dave Smiley exactly what's going on in football. Unfortunately, Dave Smiley, I think, went upstairs and played Matchbox 20. But no, seriously, my guys, Collinsworth and SPT and Fireball and who the hell else? I'm sorry, I'm going to leave some guys out. My bad. Like Weedman was there. And Smiley. I want to thank them for inviting me. They've invited me for a number of years. I've never been able to make it. And I thought, you know what? I'm going to roll up there and watch this game with them. They come out to a lot of our events. They are hugely supportive of not just Dave's show, but of my show. And, Sonneban, too, who evidently has Schneider Trucking. They have ads on our station. The hell? Sonneban, I could be doing those bad boys for you, man. Impactfully doing them for you. Great to see everybody, really was. Crappy outcome, but great to see everybody. The Boilermakers just had it all. You talk about just wizardry. In the Bahamas against Texas Tech on Friday night. That was some outstanding basketball to watch. We got that for you. The Pacers get efforts from 3, but nobody else, including 2 that should be giving a hell of a lot more than what they do, which is nearly 0. Pacers at home against the 12 consecutive winning Detroit Pistons later on tonight, too. Quick break. We'll come back. A lot more for you. I saw where Kevin Bowen was he was Jeremiah Love for the Heisman this morning. Yeah, this is good. You know what? I'm going to leave it alone because I don't feel like talking about Notre Dame today. You guys okay with that? I'm going to stay with Mendoza. Yeah, I don't normally jump in with the in crowd and go with this, but I'm going to go with the in crowd on it. I'm going to stay with you guys. All right, stream the app, HD Radio, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member today. Now is the time. Temperature's going to dip. You know what I mean. Have that support on the open road. AAA.com. Stream the app, HD Radio. Don't go anywhere. Oh, yeah, the text line as well, 317-239-1070. A lot mo for you. I think Mr. T, Clubber Lang, said that in Rocky 3. I got mo for you coming up.
I think I've only ever seen that movie once or twice.
I'm not shocked by that. It's only a classic, and that's why. Quick break. Back with you next. 93.5, 107.5. Fan.
Ride with JMV.
And the beat goes on, yeah. And the beat goes on.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
The Chiefs have the ball for the first time. They start at their own 4-yard line. They hand off to Kareem Hunt, who is tackled by Zaire Franklin. Gain of 3 up to around the 7-yard line. Here's an RPO tipped up into the air. Picked up by the Colts at the 5-yard line, and they've got the ball. They tipped it up into the air and intercepted. Latu. It's his 3rd interception this season, and the Colts are tackled inside the 5 as Latu tipped up into the air, caught the ball on the carom, and it's up in and around the 3-yard line, and that's where the Colts will start 1st and 10.
Yeah, Latu Island got things started out well for the Colts, but the end result was an L and a lot of questions and a lot of reinforcement regarding questions that we've been knocking around now, even with this really good start in 2025 for the Colts. Matt Taylor, Joe Wright's Colts Radio Network. Our good friend Chad is rolling through beautiful Utah and could not agree more. They need to figure it out quickly. Love listening. He's in Utah somewhere. That does look nice. Text lines 317-239-1070. JMV, good afternoon. After your opening monologue and first commercial break, I'd love for you to expound upon your interpretation of the saying, he's in his bag. Thanks, Nick. Well, when it was mentioned that Shane Steichen was in his bag, that means everything was working. That's a positive connotation. That is an uplifting description of what's going on for the team that you like and its head coach. Now, for me, I automatically go to the least common denominator, and it seems to me, I don't know why, but I think it's having to do with something that is scrotal in nature. But that's not the case. There was nothing scrotal meant regarding being in his bag. Thank you. Hopefully, Nick, that clarifies things here. All right. Not a lot of time to get your responses, so we'll do so and start right here at 239-1070. I'll get back to my opening points to that Colts loss yesterday in just a second. Mike in Brooklyn kicked things off here in the 3 o'clock hour. Mike, hello. How are you?
Hey, JMV. Yeah, you guys covered it all. It's just sad that it still plays out exactly the way I kind of call it with Steichen. He once again outsmarts himself, and just further illustration of what I've been saying all along. Phenomenal offensive coach, not a head coach. From the way he was actually good. The way that game played out, I thought he was. The best thing that happened on the opening drive, naturally we have to take the ball because you got to score immediately. But the best part of that first drive was Tanner Boydellini's penalty. I actually cheered for that. I was like, oh, thank you. Now at least we could punt the ball. So Riggo gets them. We get them pinned down. They get a penalty. They're starting. The pressure's on them. And what happens? Exactly. Smart situational football. You get the turnover. You get up 7-0. And from there, he called a nice balanced game, and the game was going to play out that way. Up until the point of Tyler Warren's screen pass where he ran it and he got it to 1st and goal, which I can't believe he didn't score because McDuffie made that, cut his legs out. And from that point on, Spagnuolo completely dominated Steichen. It was like he knew exactly what he was going to do. From that point on, I'm literally watching the game saying, this is JT time all the way right now. Because you're up by 8, you got to make sure you get the field goal. So if you run the ball 3 times and you still kick the field goal, that's fine, and you're going to take time off the clock, as you're saying. Does he do that? No, he wants to get cute again. All of a sudden, Alec Ogletree, who made a really great catch, now that was their big thing that he's now the go-to guy in the red zone. But that's another point. Now you're coming out. You get the turnover. The defense gets the big turnover because at that point you're saying, okay, they're going in. We're going to have to get – you get the turnover. You start the ball at your own 5, and you say, okay, it's JT time. Just run the ball, and if worst case scenario, get your best run plays. Nope, doesn't do it then. Then as it progresses, once they get the game to 3 points, get on the field, doesn't do it again. Comes right out, 3 and out, throwing the ball. You get the punt. You get them pay. You get your defense comes through. They get the turn. They get the stop, And that was where I really lost it, when it was 5:45, I think, at midfield. And it's got to be JT time now. You has to be, but absolutely not, because he has to if that's not the definition of outsmarting yourself, I don't know what is. Is Jimmy Johnson going to do that with Emmitt Smith in the backfield when he's got an 11-point lead? And he has a defense that you have to believe in. You have to play smart football, and he just can't do it. I've come to the conclusion he can't do it.
What was reinforced to me was, if this team gets any pressure whatsoever, if things aren't running smoothly, operationally speaking, if there's not a rhythm or a flow offensively, these guys struggle to hang. And that's why you've had a rebirth of sorts with the quarterback. But that's something that everybody sees right now, because Spagnuolo in the fourth pounced on that aspect alone. You had 4 straight 3-and-outs with what?
Yep.
I think 18 or so yards, gained over that span. And they're pouncing on the quick decision-making and faulty decision-making of the quarterback, because once Steichen put it in his hands, that's what you got. And that's problematic all the way around, and certainly for the now, but even more so for the future. And unfortunately, I think it brings up a lot of the questions that we had about coach, about quarterback, and about this team offensively, whether or not some of this was smoke and mirrors or a pipe dream or mirage. And I think the fourth quarter with Steve Spagnuolo, I think that brought that to light, maybe even more so than what we saw in that win in overtime in Berlin, or what we saw against Pittsburgh for the entirety of that 6-turnover game 3 weeks ago in the Steel City. And that is more prevalent today after that fourth quarter than anything else is to me.
Yeah, no doubt. You're an old school guy too. It's Shane Steichen's got to understand that Daniel Jones is not Joe Montana. Never going to be. He could be Phil Simms, which is not a knock. It's good, but you have to call it.
When the going gets tough, you got to give it to 2-8, right? You got to lean on 2-8 when the going. When we're smooth sailing on the interstate, and you can see for miles, then that Daniel Jones, turn him loose and you throw. But when things get tough, when you have to grind, I think we all should probably know that by now. That's at least the way that it's looked. I will also say this. This offense wasn't very good yesterday. It really wasn't. No. Think about it. You scored the first points of the game because you were gifted from Latu Island the ball, inside the 5, close to the goal line. They couldn't run the ball effectively. They didn't throw it effectively. They just didn't turn it over. And a lot of people look at that stat alone as to how or why you had a good game or not so good game offensively. Yeah, that wasn't a good game offensively. It sure as hell wasn't good enough.
No, it wasn't. But you know what? You got to learn how to win games like that, because you're going to have them if you want to win a championship.
Yeah,
and definitely JT, you got to go down with your guy. You got to go down with the closer. If they would have ran the ball from that time, first and goal at the 8-yard line, they would have not thrown the ball once, or maybe tried a little flare pass, run the ball at least 2 out of 3 on every series. I would have no problem. Just like I had no problem. I heard some people saying about Steichen, not going for it on 4th and 4 there. No, you punt the ball. You play the percentages. You played smart. You don't want to give them the ball right there. That's another problem, because now we'll start doing that again. I did have a little bit of a problem with them kicking off, with taking the ball in overtime.
Yeah.
And I could understand that maybe the defense was gassed, but listen, in that situation on the road, I want Mahomes out there, and I want to see what I have to do. Because it probably would have been better for them with Jones and Steichen, because then even if they scored a touchdown, okay, this is what we got to do. We got to score a touchdown. You could have maybe saved the defense a little bit if you'd have chewed some clock up. Even had you not moved the ball dramatically offensively in the fourth, absolutely,
you could run some clock and maybe not had to play it that. Maybe they chose to play it that way, but it was the fourth 3-and-out, and kind of was the cherry on top for a truly disgusting fourth. Mike in Brooklyn, thank you as always, my man. We'll talk at you. Have a great Thanksgiving.
Yep.
We'll hit you up later on this week.
JMV. Thank you, JMV. You too. You and your family.
Yeah, we're on the same page with a lot of that. And what it did, you saw, and not again in an overly dramatic, just knocking the quarterback around fashion. But, I mean, all of a sudden things quicken. It wasn't a great offensive day anyway, but once the decision-making, got quick and, there was no Taylor, and Taylor didn't run the ball. It was like 2.1 outside of that long run. But I think the truth remains that, even beyond looking for yards, which you were, any glimmer of offensive ball movement hope in the fourth, at the same time, you kind of wanted to work that clock. That fourth lasted stinking forever to me. But you get out-coached. You get out-coached and you get outplayed. And for those of you that are suggesting, hey, you haven't said much about the defense, we can make the argument all day that they were out there too much and they were tired. But let's face it, and I think these are facts, are they not? You expect big playmaking ability. This is not just a cobbled together secondary that, hey, you have have-tos now. When you go out and make that move at the trade deadline and you give up what you gave up, you have have-tos. So you have to be the difference in a game. Well, that's putting too much on them. They were tired. Too damn bad. That's the point that you made when you put together that deal and you initiated it. That's what I was looking for. I'm looking for big play ability, not Rice on a crucial third down pass play running wild. I know it's hard. I know it's difficult. I know you're tired, but you have to look at that differently because you gave up way too damn much not to do just that. Give me really quick here. Give me Chad before the break here. Chad, hello. Welcome to the show.
Hey, Jamie. How are you? Long time no talk.
Good to hear from you, Chad. Welcome back.
Hey, I want to cover a couple things.
Yeah.
Daniel Jones, with his, even though he's a mobile quarterback, he doesn't use his legs nearly as much. And with this foot injury, I think we just need to go max protect against the Houston pass rushers. Treat him like an immobile quarterback. And even if it reduces the number of pass catchers on the field by one, at least Daniel Jones will have a little more time to see the guy come open and hit him instead of basically being flustered and making bad decisions. And then Patriots against Freeney and Mathis, all they did was run delayed draw plays. So a little variation, unpredictability, like draw plays with Abdullah and a chip and a pass in the flat to JT. I mean, just to keep those pass rushers honest.
And they tried to do that once, and he tried to do that once, and he dropped it too. So I mean, they did initiate that. What you're talking about once, and this was not. Hey, Chad, this was not a banner day for the offense, and it wasn't one for Jonathan Taylor either. And I think what everybody's trying to say, and I do buy this, is you didn't go down swinging with whom you should have gone down swinging with.
Falcons, they went down that path. Falcons were ganging up to stop JT, but Sykin did not go away from JT. He kept giving him the rock, and eventually JT broke through. So running backs gain momentum as the game goes on, and he should have trusted him. Again, remember the Falcons game. They were also ganging up at the line of scrimmage the same way, and every other team is going to do that, and you got to keep feeding him because this guy is a difference maker. And with Sauce Gardner, I'd say it's like buying a Lamborghini and driving it on 465 in rush hour. Jets with Darrelle Revis played him in man coverage on one side. You shut down this side. We'll play bracket coverage.
That's exactly what I'm talking about with expectations, Chad. 100%.
That's exactly what these. I mean, same thing with Richard Sherman too. He didn't take on the.
And I just kind of view that as the entire secondary. That entire secondary is so touted that's the expectation. Chad, man, it's great to hear from you again, pal. Have a great holiday.
Yep, and looking forward to Brownsburg winning 6A again.
Oh, yeah. Oscar Fry shout out right there at quarterback, too. Chad, welcome back. It's exactly what I'm talking about. There are expectations. There's not this, well, they were tired and there are some have-tos here. Yeah, Jonathan Taylor has have-tos. The quarterback has have-tos. And now with that deal, the secondary has have-tos. Correct. Put them on somebody and blanket somebody. I don't think anybody's going to hold their breath on that. Quick break, we'll come back. Stephen Holder, 5 o'clock hour. A lot more for you as well. Weird Al tickets, I believe we have coming up for you, too. Some bullseye passes. AAA Membership Lounge, YouTube Live, 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
Drunk and stupid is no way to go through life, son.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Windshield spreadability. Now, you're going to find it, too, for elite level snacking. You got all hoop all the time going on right now. Rest of the week, Monday Night Football tonight. Windshielders with original sharp cheddar, bacon and cheddar, and jalapeno pepper. Neiman's Harvest Market, Gordon's Food Service, and all Meijer locations in the state of Indiana. The elite level spreadability of Windshielders. JMV, I absolutely blame the play calling in this game. They were outcoached and outplayed. And unfortunately for you Colts fans, a lot of the questions that some of you had, a little bit more quietly than others, but certainly on the national level, many had, were reinforced by what we witnessed in the fourth quarter. That was against a team that you could have stomped out, a former elite level team, and then breathing some life back into them, which you did with that loss. That is a team that does not look ready for the level in which people are expecting here. That's what stands out to me. And when things get a little bit tough, things got tight, that wasn't good either. And Kansas City in one-score games had not been good this year. Their history has been, but this season not until yesterday. Man, and the Colts just absolutely opened the front door. Up 11, fourth quarter. Just open the front door and let them in. Stinks. Terry's up next at 239-1070. Terry, welcome to the show. Hello, Terry. I'm here. Are you? Terry, thank you for the call. I agree. Ed's next. Ed, talk to me, Ed. How are you?
Oh, I'm doing just fantastic. First thing I was wanting to talk about is I personally think Shane Steichen ought to hand over his play calling to Jim Bob Cooter. I think they'd be doing a heck of a lot better with that.
I don't even know if yeah, I've said that before. I look at the first three quarters and I wonder, when he's so far out in front, why such a fourth quarter failure? And
well,
I think and I'll finish, and Ed, you can too. I think you see a lot of dudes in that position that have a high level tendency to outthink themselves, and I think he did just that, even more so, because it wasn't like there was a ton of pressure. There was a lot of stuff that certainly was not normalcy in terms of offensive workability for this team throughout the game. But I think all of a sudden you kind of get in the bubble of the moment and you forget about who your actual closer is. And it's okay to believe in your quarterback, but you could tell in that particular moment, especially when they were coming at him, that wasn't going to be it over and over. And certainly you look at the clock and the circumstances. I mean, he's also got enough people in his ear to say, hey, you know what, clock and time and defense is tired and all that, where you should make more sound decisions. But I think the overwhelming decision is, why do you so easily go away from the dude we tout around here as the MVP, at least until yesterday?
Well, this isn't the first time that he's done that.
No, it's not.
In
It's not.
He did the same thing. He set him out for 3 straight plays yesterday. And one last thing is, I can live the rest of my life without hearing Tony Romo call a game.
Yeah. Now, if he were talking, the same things about the Colts probably as he talks about Mahomes, you could probably more easily live with it. I think that's how people felt about everybody talking regarding Manning back in the day. You know what I mean? That Mahomes gets that particular treatment. That makes sense to you. Well, so I could take it or leave it. He's sometimes all over the map.
That referee yesterday, that was the first game that he was a referee. He had been an umpire prior to this and was just promoted to the referee's job yesterday.
Well, I thought I read where that particular crew was the most flag-throwing crew in the NFL. Did I read that wrong? I thought I read that.
You may be right on that.
It went both ways. And Ed, thank you for the call, man. You call anytime. It went both ways. But at the end of it all, who cares? I mean, this is such a Colts problem. And you can say they're 8-3 and still firmly in control, and you can be right. But that was still an egregious fourth quarter and losing a game that you should have won. And that's all a part of the process of getting to where you expect to be. If you didn't expect to be there, you don't pull off that trade for Sauce Gardner. Yeah, maybe we're not thinking the same thing. We're probably going over a similar level of criticism. But this has to work. I tell you the other thing, too, Daniel Jones has to work, and Daniel Jones has to be better. The offensive line has to be better. There's nothing to write home about there either. You get a little bit of pressure there, and you see some wilting, especially right side of it. Quick break, come back. Your calls, you and me, AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Become a AAA member today. Stephen Holder as well on the way. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
The Ride with JMV. 93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
That's interesting. You look around the league, I think it's like analytics is like 50-50 split. You talk to coaches around the league, it's split. And just kind of my philosophy is like, hey, take the ball there, try to go score. That's a 10-minute, overtime. And if you don't score, you can punt them and back them up. And then if you get the stop, you'll probably get one more shot. That's kind of the thought process there. Now, if you do take the ball, right, and you go score, now they're in 4-down mode the whole way down. So there's the flip side of it too. So there's different thoughts and theories to it. And my thought there was take the ball, try to go score. And then obviously, try to stop them on the flip in. And like we did, punt them, back them up, and try to keep them backed up so you can get another shot.
Shane Steichen on why you take the ball in overtime with that decision. I mentioned the numbers on Jonathan Taylor, too. This was not an outstanding afternoon for the Colts offense. However, they had done enough to give them an 11-point advantage. And then everything went to hell in the handbasket in the fourth quarter, as we witnessed. Well, Jonathan Taylor, 58 on the ground, no touchdowns, a little over 3.5 yards per carry. That compares to a season averages of 114 per game, over 6 per tote, and 1.5 touchdowns a game. So, his offense wasn't there with their offense. And then I just thought you saw Kansas City go to bringing everybody in the fourth, and Shane continuing to go to the pass and Daniel Jones. And the one thing that we know right now, and maybe that changes, but what we know right now is this team, like a lot of other teams would be and quarterbacks would be unless you're elite, when things are clear and everything is running well, like in the first 3 quarters, for example, first half, really. When you're feeling good, then you're looking good. But what do you do when things start crumbling around you, things are going boom around you, and Daniel Jones in the past 3 weeks, other than that third down scramble in Berlin, we'll give him credit for that. It really hasn't looked like he's a guy that's going to withstand moderate to more heavy pressure situations. Is that fair to say? No, he fits well in this offense, and this offense hums when everybody's feeling good about it. But, man, all of a sudden when the pressure comes, and now I'm sorry, that blueprint is out there. And what Houston can do on Sunday is what Pittsburgh did 3 weeks ago. What Spagnuolo did yesterday in the fourth most often was what Atlanta did for most of the game. Atlanta gave up big chunks of yardage to Taylor, but the Steelers held him to what? Was that a 45-yard game? Going back 3 weeks ago? This is something they have to figure out. And in terms of our last call, Ed, who had mentioned, Shane Steichen, calling the plays and being the head coach, somebody else should call the plays. That, frankly, is never going to happen. Certainly unless there's, drastic measures that we see and then, maybe there's a forcing there, but I would suggest that never happens. The clock management stuff is what sticks out just as much as the Jones lean and not going to Taylor in certain circumstances. I would say that there are struggles. And we saw that going all the way back to the Denver game. And there are other documented moments in which the dealing with the clock has been a testimonial why many out there are kind of non-believers in this. If you're a non-believer in Shane Steichen and Daniel Jones together being able to elevate this team to elite status, if you're a non-believer in that, your opinion was reinforced by that yesterday. If you didn't believe in what the Colts did at the trade deadline and going out and giving that much for Sauce Gardner because this team is not that ready for clearly what they're going after right now, then that reinforced your viewpoint yesterday. I know not a lot of people are going to lump the defense in, and I'm not going to get too harsh on the defense, but I will say this. With what you see in that secondary now comes with an entirely different level of responsibility. It just does. I'm sorry. People look at Sauce Gardner as if he's going to be able to take somebody away, or he at least should be able to. You look at that whole group together, you expect playmaking ability. And when you don't see it, and when you give up, tired or not, chunks of yardage that lead to a game-winning field goal in overtime, then that's going to come under some heavy-level scrutiny, and it should. Colts are still 8-3. That's great. You get Houston. This weekend, you get Houston twice. They're 2 games back. The Jaguars are 1 game back. You still get them twice. So your goals are still clear, but what is now more cloudy is just where this team is compared to where we thought. I'm not suggesting Kansas City is an elite level team, but that's an elite level, been there and done that, and accomplished more than most ever will group. From coaches to players, and they put the pressure on the fourth, and the Colts wilted under that pressure. That's the same type of pressure you're going to get at the end of the season or in the postseason. Yesterday, the fourth quarter, that description was not being ready for it. Simply put. And for those of you that also are talking about the offensive line, I would agree. Seems like at times the most yardage coming on the right side of that offensive line on the run is when Quentin Nelson is pulling and going out there and knocking guys out of the way. You gotta elevate that a little bit here. Actually, a lot bit here. And let's face it, that's been the offensive line and the protection. It wasn't overwhelming yesterday, but it was the wrinkles that were thrown in by one of the better defensive coordinators we have seen that, to me, was one of the bigger differences in the game. It was almost like you go for 3 quarters, and that's who you are for 3 quarters playing defensively, and then you throw something at Shane Steichen when he feels comfortable about the play calling, and he stays with that, and you do something different. And you just take all the air out of it. Not 1, not 2, not 3, but 4 consecutive 3-and-out possessions. That's not legitimizing yourself in terms of the elite in football. That's what everybody's looking for. 239-1070 is that number. We've got the text line open, 317-239-1070 as well. If you guys want to drop in something, you certainly can. Stephen Holder, top of the 5 o'clock hour, ESPN and ESPN.com. And Tom is up next with a comment or two. Hello, Tom. How are you?
Hey, JMV, how are you?
Tom, I'm outstanding. Thank you.
So I just wanted to comment, after watching the Texans on Thursday night last week,
yeah,
I got a little bit nervous just watching them, kind of anticipating what we were going to run into. And then after watching the game yesterday, I feel pretty confident in the concerns that I had. And you'd like to think that, Houston started off bad and they were kind of a joke and we were going to be okay at the beginning. But now, next Sunday bothers me, bud.
No, yeah, it should, too. I mean, watching Josh Allen get chased around and sacked 8 times should bother really anybody. But certainly this Colts offensive line that absolutely has to be better in the last 3 weeks, they really haven't.
Right. Yeah, they were on top of Josh Allen, and I get it. Buffalo's not what we've been used to the last few years, but at the same time, they pretty well handled Buffalo, and I think I just hope we're a little more prepared. It seemed like yesterday we were a little unprepared. I just
see.
personally,
Listen, I buy that in the fourth. They looked incredibly prepared through the first half. Like I said, when things weren't complicated, it was all good. When things got complicated in the fourth, and you saw Romo kept mentioning the fact that, hey, this is it. This is their season. They have to go for it right now. They went for it in terms of defensively. Spagnuolo threw that wrinkle in there, and the Colts still were doing the same type of stuff where they thought they were in the flow and it wasn't working. And that was compromising them on the defensive side as well with all those 3 and outs in the fourth quarter and overtime. And you saw ultimately what happened. People often talk about adjustments and don't know what they're talking about. I mean, you probably throw me in that category sometimes too, but I rarely know. Well, there's no adjustments made. There were certainly adjustments made, but the bigger adjustments made you could see was from Spagnuolo putting the pressure on and giving a different look and bringing really pressure. And not even so much pressure that sacked the quarterback, but they were fouling up the works with Daniel Jones. And the last 2 games we have seen that can happen. And this Colts offense isn't the same against the Steelers or the Falcons as we had seen prior to. And that's what we witnessed in the fourth yesterday.
Oh, I agree. I think we got spooked by it, and all of a sudden it seemed like we were individuals trying to make up the difference as opposed to the team play that we've been used to, the whole year so far.
Does this give you ample questions regarding Daniel Jones? Are you confident in Daniel Jones, or does this magnify questions you might have about him?
You know what? I'm confident in Daniel Jones for what he is right now. And let's face it, we haven't found our quarterback yet, right? And we've had a couple of quarterbacks over the years that I wish we would have kept longer. Phillip Rivers being one, but, he had his own plan. But Daniel Jones is what we got now.
So
I think
you're confident, and it's a coincidence, right? They were playing the Chiefs yesterday. You're confident that Daniel Jones is pretty much Alex Smith, as a lot of people have suggested, right?
Pretty much, yeah. Yeah, I'd agree with that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
It makes sense. Until further notice, and hopefully we're all inaccurate with this assessment, but when we've seen pressure, this team, unfortunately, offensively, has wilted beneath that pressure, and were able to save themselves in Berlin, but couldn't yesterday, and really turned the ball over 6 times, and unfortunately, defensively by the Steelers got outclassed 3 weeks ago. So a lot of things to figure out, but I agree with you as far as what Houston is going to bring in here, which has been here recently, as we've seen, that has been a big problem for the Colts and an offense. It's been a problem for anybody's offense, but certainly the Colts. This is not a great matchup as we see coming in here. Yeah, hopefully they can change your mind coming up on Sunday.
Hey, and the other side of it is, our big voodoo whatever. We got Jacksonville coming up, and they're not a slacker either. So
no, well, I mean, you got to prove. And Tom, thank you for the call. I appreciate that. You got to get them both twice, and they are definitely in the rear view. You didn't think this wasn't going to be a fight. But you also haven't thought in the games in which they have lost this season, the Colts unfortunately have laid the groundwork themselves. It's the Rams turning it over against the Steelers, fourth quarter yesterday. I mean, in those 3 games and those 3 losses, has anybody really bum rushed them and outclassed them? Outcoached, outmaneuvered, outplayed in the fourth by Kansas City. Former player just handing the game over in L.A. And just massive offensive line and ball security issues in Pittsburgh. Yeah, I think that's fair to say. Anybody kind of backing up on that belief of Daniel Jones? Is that a fair assessment to make? Now, I got news for you. For those out there that believe, well, he's not the guy and you got to get somebody, they're not getting anybody else. He's going to be the guy. He's going to have to get over whatever funk you get into when things start to get haywire around you. He is really good. This offense is really good when everything's going on in the smooth. Normally, you know how that works out. Now, we shall see. And again, my assessment of the defense, was I disappointed in it? No. Do I want to see more, especially in terms of taking things away and playmaking ability in the secondary? Yes. Is that going to be a lot to ask? Yes, because they paid a lot for me to ask. They gave up a lot for me to ask. Or, I'm sorry, better yet, they gave up a lot for me to expect. I expect that. You can't just look like your average secondary. There should be more of a purpose with that group. And we're talking to Cam Bynum about that on Thursday. And believe me, he said the same damn thing that I'm saying right now. Those expectations are there. I'm not putting that loss, that fourth quarter, on the defense, but I do expect to see more in the secondary than we ended up witnessing in that game. All right, quick break. We shall return. Stephen Holder, top of the 5 o'clock hour. Remember, we bail at 5:30, so let's expedite this process with your calls at 239-1070. Got stuff to give away. I'll explain that, too, and I believe we have a Colts Monday update coming up next. AAA Membership Lounge via YouTube Live, Monday afternoon in Indy on 93.5 and 107.5 The Fan.
JMV.
Pay him. Pay that man his money.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Colts lose yesterday. We talk all about it today. Holiday weekend. Remember, Brothers, Broad Ripple, Bud Light, Blue Friday is now Bud Light Blue Wednesday. Texans Colts tickets coming up on Wednesday. It is an annual affair in Broad Ripple at Brothers. I shall see you there. Kind of the finger that I was pointing regarding Daniel Jones, and this is top-notch nerdery right here. But alas, it does support the point that I was making. Thus, I'll embrace it. Daniel Jones released 17 of his 31 passes in under 2.5 seconds. That's 55% above his season average of 42.9, but gained only 72 yards on 12 completions on quick passes. So more pressure is going to be added. This is not Lombardi talking here regarding football. I'm telling you that that's what you do against quarterbacks in general, but we have seen, especially now in the last 3 games against Daniel Jones, an offense that looked unstoppable early this season is rather pedestrian, if not less, like yesterday, especially when you put that pressure on. And in the fourth, Steve Spagnuolo brought the pressure. And then Shane Steichen kind of placed it on the shoulders of Daniel Jones. Took it away from Jonathan Taylor. And your 11-point lead blows away, and you lose in overtime. So just part of some of the adjustments that are going to have to be made, because you're going to have a high pressure just, for the sake of getting there on the ends with Hunter and with Anderson coming up on Sunday with the Texans. 8 sacks against Josh Allen last week. Back to that in a second. Legendary sports handicapper, our friend Michael Westwood's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline right now, GBIWins.com. Hello, Michael. How are you?
JMV in the place to be. How are you, sir? And thank you for having me back.
I'm dealing with a high level of Monday afternoon disappointment after that giveaway late in the game in KC yesterday.
You know what? I'm listening to what you're saying, and obviously you're brilliant at what you do. But I mean, you can't blame Mr. Jones. I mean, come on. He's got to have a defense that could stop an offense. I mean, and again, you got to have an offensive line that could allow him not to get killed. I mean, that's the bottom line. I'm a New Yorker, obviously, and, we all blame everybody else but ourselves in New York, okay? This kid, Daniel Jones, is the best thing that ever happened to you guys. Trust me when I tell you that. I hope you agree with me on that.
Well, I mean, no, we won't get into the debate now because I have some debatable issues I would like to pick up with you on that, because, no, he has been good, but he's kind of been found out, and his coach got found out in the fourth, and that led to a loss. I mean, we can't forget the guy that we have stroked for MVP around here, and really nationally, is Jonathan Taylor, and he was a forgotten man in the fourth. He's not the closer. I mean, Jonathan Taylor's the closer. Daniel Jones isn't. But anyway, listen, that's not why you're here. You're here to give out incredible sports handicapping knowledge. So take it away.
JMV, you're 100% right. Tonight is my game of the year. Guys, if you don't know who I am, I've been in the sports handicapping world now for 42 years. I know how to beat the bookmakers against the point spread. This past weekend, we were an astounding 7-1. And you want to know something, JMV? The only game I lost? The New York Jets, of course. That's another story. We're not going to discuss that either, okay? What I'm going to do for your listeners right now, just to prove a point and just to show you that information makes money, I'm going to give out my Monday night game of the year. Again, over the last 31 years, my record is 27-4. If you don't believe me, that's okay, because I'll prove it to you for free tonight. All you have to do right now is dial 1-800-885-2525. Again, that's 1-800-885-2525. You'll be connected to my free recorded hotline, and you'll get my Monday night game of the year absolutely on me. Once again, it's 1-800-885-2525. Call that recorded hotline now.
That is legendary sports handicapper Michael Westwood. 1-800-885-2525. Check that out. It is always a Monday pleasure. Have an outstanding holidays this week, too, man. Enjoy that, okay, buddy?
Appreciate it, buddy. Have a great Thanksgiving, and once again, let's make some money together.
You got it. Michael Westwood right there. 800-885-2525. Yeah, all right. He brings up a good point. So am I too hardcore on Daniel Jones here? Too hardcore? Too soft on the defense? I think I've made my point regarding the offensive line and Shane Steichen. Is it too hardcore on Jones, more put on a defense? Where are we with that? Halfway through the show, I might as well just see where you are as far as what I've said so far. What do you think? A little too soft on one, not the other? Just out of curiosity. 239-1070 is that number. Neil is up next today. Neil, welcome to the show. How are you?
JMV, I'm doing great, baby. I'm eastbound from Carmel to Fishers on 4 tires and a full tank. How you
there
doing?
You go. You're going to get there expeditiously. Outstanding.
That's right. So a little bit about Daniel Jones. Not the end of the world. I was kind of in a similar situation earlier this year with the defensive coordinator for Notre Dame by the name of Chris Ash. Everyone was ready to can him at the very beginning of the year, and he's completely turned it around. However, I have a concern with Daniel Jones and whoever it is on the Colts offense. Who is our guy? Who's the guy that gets the troops going? Who gets us hyped when we need it?
No, you're talking about that guy who Jonathan Taylor's the guy. Now, he's not the rah-rah guy or anything like, but he's the dude. He's the dude with that offense, yes.
Who's the rah-rah guy? Who's going to circle the troops and just get them hyped, man? I feel like we need someone like that because I whenever they show the bench, they show Daniel Jones sitting on the bench. Looks like he's kind of just sitting there wondering, what flowers he's going to buy.
I will tell you this, Neil. The demeanor on the bench doesn't bother me. Wilting under pressure does. And then a coach kind of leaning on something that wasn't working clearly late in the game. That bothers me too. But I don't think that other stuff does. He's just kind of a very understated, soft-spoken dude. I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
All right. Well, I don't think it's the end of the world. I was, to say pissed off would be an understatement after the game yesterday, but
right.
We'll move on. It's the NFL. There's still a lot of football to be played. I just hope we can win in Jacksonville this year, for the love of God.
Well, I'm telling you, I'm glad we can take part in your commute from Carmel to Fishers with 4 tires and a full tank of gas.
That's how I roll, baby. Go Irish, go Colts.
Oh, thank you, Neil.
Pacers.
Yeah, thank you, Neil. Yeah, go Irish. I'm not an Irish guy, in case you haven't noticed. Have you guys noticed I'm not an Irish guy? I like Neil, and I like Kevin Bowen a lot, but Irish football fans wear my ass out. I always say, you got to talk about it more. You got to bring it up. And normally what I do is I bring up things that people care about around here, and I do know that there are some fans, but I don't think it's large enough for me to give too big of a crap about. I could be wrong about that, too. Just maybe. JMV, I think you are going a little bit too soft on the defense. Yeah, I'm not. But I'll take that back. I think I'm a little bit too harsh in the fact that they're on the field forever. The offense gave them 0 assistance in the fourth. 0, none. And I also think my expectations, and I will tell you this for sure, are much higher regarding that secondary than yours. Like what I witnessed from that secondary yesterday, I expect so much more, and it's probably unfair. They probably played, if you were to geek it out and to watch the tape and to analyze it and all the stuff the nerds do that I'm sure as hell not going to do, if you're to do that, you probably draw the conclusion that they had a really good game. But giving up chunks of yardage going down the field when it really, truly matters, that's what I saw from a group where I expect at the absolute highest level until further notice that's going to be it. And that is, again, the stage you set when you make that trade deadline deal. True? True. It is Stefan at 239-1070 right now. Hello, Stefan.
What's up, Jay?
What's in your world?
All right, man, my world's going great. I'm hanging in there like a fat kid playing dodgeball, but you know how it goes. So my thing is this. When it comes to this situation, I'm a chronicleizer. No, you're consistent in your assessment on how you look at sports fans in Indianapolis. Look at Miles Turner. No Miles Turner, we have a layup line. Everybody now all of a sudden sees what he did. Oh, that's what Miles did. Now, when it comes to Mr. Daniel Jones, he's a game manager. We have to accept that.
Yeah.
He does great managing the game. He's basically Alex Smith after the leg to break. That's all we got to expect of him. But the fact of the matter is, I understand you don't want to put more workload on Jonathan Taylor. You still have Abdullah, who's actually a killer too. So run the ball and save us the heartache.
Yeah. Do you think if they would get, for example, Stefan, they didn't run the ball well yesterday. Jonathan Taylor wasn't having a banner day even before he didn't get the ball, for example, in the fourth and into overtime. Do you think that had they gone out and still kept sending him with really no positive results, we would still be this hardcore on Steichen, or would we reverse our opinion and say, well, you got to throw it a little bit, you got to try to open it up?
Well, no, the problem on the whole situation is that you still have him as a decoy, and you still can run play action. The fact that this team has not learned how to run play action is insanity. I mean, it's literally the case in point, the Aston Doolin play, where he hit him dead smack over, he accepted the rush that came in and helped the offensive line out. You're not helping the offensive line. The plays that you're calling, you're getting the offensive line killed, and they're getting nicked up even more. It's more to that game. It's more asking how you do it to save your team. You're not looking at it from the full picture. From my situation, looking at Shane Steichen, because, dude, a hardcore play action, and you turn around and you hit Ashton Doolin over there, you're going to suck the defense all the way over. That's a touchdown. You just basically grew up a great play and ruined it by not running play action.
I can buy that. Stefan, by the way, my hoops, it's a little compromised right now. I've got some Achilles swelling going on.
Hey, you keep a close eye on that. Make sure elevate.
Hey, Stefan, man, remember the advice you gave me once upon a time? I live in the world of low tops.
Facts. Killer death. Kill.
Hey, wait, I live in this world of low tops. How did anybody ever have positive ankle results back in the day with Chuck Taylor's? How'd you not break an ankle or pop something every time you did anything?
Hey, think about this. Unnecessary roughness with the hot top white cleats.
You know, my Achilles is so swollen right now that I have a pair of high tops. I can't get it over my Achilles. So I have to go with the low tops. Isn't that crazy?
Yeah, be really careful, man, because that thing will pop and you will be literally think you're okay.
I know it. We're going down that path. Stefan, good to hear from you, man.
Good to you, bro.
Quick break. We'll come back. Stephen Holder, top of the hour. Your calls, if you're on hold, I'll get to you. Hey, we're still going to have a busy week, even though it's going to be a short work week. Wednesday, Brothers, Broad Ripple, the annual Bud Light Blue Wednesday at Brothers, night before Thanksgiving. You know what night that is, right? Historically speaking, when you're in college, James? You know what that is?
I feel like you've told me, but I'm forgetting.
I'm sure the high school hookup.
There it is.
That's when you come back from high school, you go out, and maybe you always want a little hen and shin with somebody back in the day, and you never did. It's the old school high school hookup Wednesday night, the night before Thanksgiving. Always good for that. Stream the app, HD Radio, AAA, Membership Lounge via YouTube Live. Your calls and more, Stephen Holder, about 15 minutes away on 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
5 and 107.5, The Fan.
It sounds like my exclusive, I should say, remix right here on Saturday nights. What is that Weird Al show that we're going to give away tickets for right now?
That is coming up August 6, 2026 of next year at Ruoff.
Gotcha. All right, number 30 right now. Text line ticket giveaway. Weird Al, number 30, 317-239-1070. For Ruoff and a great time, number 30, text line 317-239-1070. Truth be told, I'm having a nasal issue right now because I just sneezed 5 seconds before I came on. What is the old saying? If your nose is itching, that means somebody's coming over. You ever hear that? See, that's one thing I have not done. If you watch the Andy Griffith Show, the Darlings always said if you put a Buckeye in your pocket, that cures a sore foot. I have a sore foot. I should just drop a Buckeye in my pocket. And I've not done that yet. I don't know what it means. I thought it meant somebody was coming over. When Schuler Spreadability, that should be at your place later on tonight. There's enough sports on for you to snack. Crackers and chips and vegetables and stuff like that. When Schuler's Spreadability, Neiman's Harvest Market, Meijer locations throughout the state of Indiana. You can also find it at Gordon's Food Service. That number 30, text line number 317-239-1070 to see Weird Al. 239-1070 is the number. Ray Love is going to drop in here on this Monday. How you doing, Ray?
Pissy.
Did you say pissy?
Very pissy.
No, me too, man.
Yes.
Me too. I'm a little pissy myself. Do I sound pissy?
Not nearly as much as me, John.
All right, buddy.
Because I look at it like this, John. I haven't coached the NFL, haven't coached high school, haven't coached college, but I've coached Little League, and I've been able to score more than 6 yards in a quarter. I don't see how that's even remotely possible when you got the leading rusher, you got Michael Pittman, Tyler Warren, and Alec Pierce. I'm trying to wrap my mind around it. How is that even possible? That loss yesterday has got me questioning everybody. It's got me questioning the girls. It got me saying, should we have traded a two first-round picks?
I know.
And letting Daniel Jones be the quarterback? I'm just saying, I don't want to overreact, but how can you not? Daniel Jones is starting to go into that Sam Darnold territory of last year. Let's just call it what it is. He's starting to move into that territory.
Hey, Ray Love, I said this at the outset of the show. Yesterday and the result and how it transpired, what it does, it magnifies what many people have thought. It reinforces the negative opinion about the Colts doing this as an NFL mirage with an easy schedule and not much behind it, taking advantage of situations that, really don't suggest record-wise that they're an elite-level team. And yesterday, from coaching to quarterback play to offensive line play to that fourth quarter, reinforced that particular opinion. Or, in this case, plural, those opinions.
Absolutely. And you know what, John? You should be probably a little happy. My Thanksgiving's ruined from yesterday, but you should be a little happy about Sunday. We're going to get our first must-win of the year. I know how you love
Damn right.
games.
Damn right we are. Yes.
First one. We better get it done. I know that. We better get it done.
I got you. Ray Love, you have a great Thanksgiving. Thank you very much for the call. Ray's right, man. Yeah. The big-time must-win Sunday, everybody. Quick break, we'll come back. Your calls, Stephen Holder coming up. I'm going to try to squeeze everybody in before Colts Roundtable. Pacer pregame after that. 93.5, 107.5 The Fan.
With JMV.
I am the cream, the cream of the crop. And there is no one that does it better.
93.5 and 107.5. The Fan.
Second down and goal at the 6. Jones out of the gun, ball in the left hash, backs to throw, looking, throws right, caught at the goal line, and that's a touchdown for the Colts. Michael Pittman Jr. with a career-high now 7 receiving touchdowns in 2025. Touchdown, I-N-D-Y, on the road in Arrowhead.
Oh, there was a time when everything looked good, and then you got into the fourth quarter, and poof, it all went away. For a variety of reasons, Colts lose. They get Houston coming up on Sunday. Thank you for joining us. By the way, Colts Radio Network and Matt Taylor right there. The annual event the night before Thanksgiving. Yeah, we're going to be staked out per usual. Brothers in Broad Ripple, Bud Light Blue Wednesday. Texans Colts tickets to give away with our friends from Bud Light and Zinc on Wednesday in Broad Ripple. Join us. Bud Light, Blue Wednesday. Sports all over the TVs. It is, again, an annual party we have the afternoon before Thanksgiving. 93.5, 107.5, The Fan. If you're on hold, I'll get to you. Colts Roundtable, 30 minutes early. So we got that coming up at the bottom of the hour. Then Pacer pregame. Pacers and the 12 consecutive win Detroit Pistons coming up later on this evening on The Fan. But on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline from ESPN, ESPN.com. He was at Arrowhead yesterday, watching in overtime KC knock off the Colts, and Stephen Holder joins us now. So you take issue with what the most in terms of being critical about this team's performance yesterday?
Oh, my God, there's so much. It's hard to narrow it down, I'm being honest. So I'll give you a list in no order. I think a couple things. Number one, they got to figure out what the hell is going on against the blitz. They cannot just be there in the headlight against a blitz like that. And I get it. Not every team is going to have as creative blitzes and as aggressive blitzes maybe as Spagnuolo does in Kansas City. But they're putting this on tape. Okay, other teams are watching.
Yep,
that's the first thing. They have to figure that out. They were abysmal. All of those third downs in the fourth quarter, and it's on my Twitter feed if you want to go look at it. All of the third downs in the fourth quarter, all 3 of them, they faced a 5 or 6 man pass rush, and it was a disaster. Okay, that's number one. Number two, Shane Steichen would probably push back on this, but I think you've got to try to run it a little more. And I'm not sitting here saying that it was easy, that it would have been easy. It would not have been. There's no question. And there were heavy boxes sometimes. But you know what? They didn't get any yards the other way anyway, right? They didn't get any yards with incompletions. They didn't have a lot going on in the passing game. Jones was struggling. At least try. That's all I'm saying. At least try. He tried it on, I think, that first down, and he gave up. And again, I get it. You don't want to bang your head against the wall. I'm not oblivious to that. But I just think the reason they lost was because Mahomes had enough time, and I mean just enough time. If you run that ball a few more times, you might not get much of anything, but at least you make them burn their timeouts. And then I would say just finally, there's just too many sort of scramble play completions from Mahomes. That's tough, and he's so great in those situations. But somebody has to make a play at some point. Somebody has to make a play. I thought the corners, the 2 big money corners, I have no issue with those guys. And I know people are down on Ward because he gave up some stuff at the end. I think you're just covering too long there. And at some point after 90 plays, that's going to happen. That's just football, man. But just, again, someone has to make a play there at the end on those scramble drill plays with Mahomes. So, anyway, that's a mouthful, but that's what I saw.
And I hold down – I think we have to hold them to the highest of regard in that secondary. And this is probably inaccurate of me, and I said so earlier, that there's got to be some playmaking ability there too. I mean, I expect that. I know it's Mahomes. I know it's easier said than done, but they did give up a lot of chunk yardage, and I know they're retired and all that, but the excuses go out the window when you make the deal that you did back during the NFL trade deadline. So I'll start right there, but that is not my major point, and you're right with the offense here too. The moment that Spagnuolo went to that all-out downhill blitz, I mean, it's twofold. It compromises the offensive line because they look clueless, and the whole operation with Daniel Jones. This team looks really good and fluid when they're on easy street. But when that goes down, they're an absolute mess offensively, and their head coach could not get him out of it and really kept beating his head against the wall with something that wasn't working, hasn't worked, and wasn't going to work. And I thought that was a major disappointment of mine too.
Yeah, look, Shane he has to find answers, okay, period. There's no ifs, ands, or buts here. And Daniel Jones, I'm just being honest, awful. Okay? I'm going to say it. Freaking awful. All right? He missed at least 3 throws in that fourth quarter where he has to be on the screws, and he was not. Look, this is the game, okay? You want to be a big-time quarterback, you got to make the big-time plays. The other quarterback outplays you. Now, I get it. He's the greatest. I get it. But this is what I've been saying since the preseason when I thought a lot less of Daniel Jones, admittedly, right? What I was saying, what we all were saying, is when it comes down to quarterback playmaking time, is he going to be able to make the plays? Well, the jury now is a little bit out on that, okay? And he hasn't done it in the 2 big games where they got their heads kicked in at times, right? Pittsburgh and this game. And he's going to have to go prove it, all right? Because his agent's going to go ask for $35 million this offseason. Well, you better go earn it. Okay, because there is another alternative view of Daniel Jones, and I love Daniel. I think he's done an incredible job. He's been one of the best stories in the NFL all year. However, there is an alternative, I guess, viewpoint with him, and it's that he's a creation of Shane Steichen. I'm not saying it, but I'm saying if you want to make that case, I could make that case if I wanted to. Okay, you as Daniel Jones have to go out there and you got to put it on tape and show it. And that was not it yesterday.
No, it's not. And I thought that Spagnuolo, much like we had seen in Atlanta, or I should say in Berlin versus Atlanta, and what I think you can, in comparable terms from Pittsburgh, equate to what you're going to see with Anderson and Hunter coming up on Sunday with the Texans in town. You mentioned this earlier. The tape is out. I mean, everybody knows how you mess up the operation of this Colts offense right now, and that's what Spagnuolo and the Chiefs did in the fourth quarter. That's what Pittsburgh did, just with a couple of veteran guys that have done it at a high level before. That's what Atlanta did, but the Colts escaped with a win in Berlin. You're right. I mean, that tape is out there right now, and you've got to find some ways and means to deal with it. And you mentioned the offensive line. The right side of the offensive line I thought was awful. And I think the only time it wasn't awful is when you saw Quentin Nelson pulling on the right side of the offensive line. The other part of it I thought was a huge mess.
Yeah, so many of the things that this team has hung its hat on are now in question. And I think this is an emergency. Okay? And I'm not the guy that's over the top. I try not to be. So I think I've been in this town long enough. I think people know how I am, right? I try to look at things level-headed, but look, we have to judge them in terms of where they're trying to go, all right? They're not just trying to get to the playoffs, all right?
Right.
You can't start 7-1 and just act like just getting to the playoffs is good enough. It ain't good enough, man. And frankly, they haven't even done that yet, okay? Let's be honest, right? They still got to do that. They got to get there. But all I'm saying is, the bar is high. It changed. Okay, I get it. Everybody was ready to fire everybody. I know. I understand that. But when you play well and you show you're capable of more, well, the bar gets raised. It is what it is, okay? I'm just sitting here making a working man's salary, okay? The big bucks are going to those guys. So, that's just the job, buddy, So what I'm saying is I don't have any problem with saying let's hold them to a high standard because they showed that's what they're worthy of, right? The other thing I would say is you talked about, and I as well, about other teams watching the film. Well, they also look at tendencies too. And one of the things that I'm wondering about is, do other coaches realize that if you can get Shane a little frustrated with the run game, that he's going to
abandons it? Oh yeah, there's no question, no question. Hey,
okay,
yes.
I'll tell you, I had someone in the NFL today text me, okay, who clearly watched the tape this morning, and the text was, "What's with these coaches who just give up on the run? What's going on with that?" He was talking about Shane. I mean, other people are asking the same question. So I'm telling you, they look at those tendencies, and this is not the first time with Shane. So I don't think it's just this one game. I think that is, somewhat well known out there.
I think he was outside of that long, or his longest run was like just a smidge over 2 yards a carry. But also,
you know who also didn't have a lot of yards per carry?
Yeah.
Kareem Hunt.
Right. Well, and here's my point I was going to make off of that. You also, the fourth quarter, you get down to the end of it, and you're also doing that in terms of utilizing the clock, which 100%. you couldn't do. I mean, you're 4 consecutive, including overtime, 3 and outs, and your defense was gassed clearly, and you continued to give them no help whatsoever. And the stat that really sticks out to me regarding Daniel Jones is you start the game, when I mention you're on easy street and everything is going smoothly, your operation is smooth, you're in rhythm, you're 16 of 20 for 2 touchdowns. You finish the game 3 of 11 and a single first down, I think, is the way that it was. And, and Steichen kept going to it. And that, to me, is bad business.
Yeah, and you talked about the clock, and I want to be specific. You probably know this, but for the audience, in the fourth quarter, I think this is just the fourth quarter, they ran 3 minutes and 14 seconds of clock. 3 minutes and 14 seconds. Okay, they had no first downs in the final 18 minutes of regulation. You deserve to lose. Okay, I don't want to hear this nonsense. They let it get away. Yeah, they let it get away because they didn't do a damn thing. You can't not get a first down for the last 18 minutes of the game and expect to win. Get out of here. That's ridiculous, right? I mean, that's what we're talking about. If they get 1 or 2 first downs, I bet money they win. I guarantee it. Think about that.
The other thing I've noticed too, maybe it's happened recently, but I don't think so. When's the last time that they stopped a 2-point conversion?
Oh, well, that's a great question. I don't know.
Because it seems like if I'm the opposition, if I'm aggressive too, I seriously think about going for 2 every time, because I don't think they've stopped one in years. Maybe they have, but it doesn't seem like that they have to me. Maybe
I don't know the answer, but now I need to look it up now. I believe did Atlanta have one as well? I feel like they did.
I think anybody has one if they want one, don't they? That's the way that it feels to me. It's whenever they go out there for a 2-point conversion. Now, granted, I think teams could go for it more than they do and be successful. Mm-hmm. They just don't, because nobody else is trending upward and doing it before them. Nobody has, the balls to do it. But and probably people would view it as being foolish. But in terms of going against the Colts, it seems like that's good business to me.
Yeah, and I think one other thing to mention defensively is, I mean, this is sort of obvious, but I think you really saw the lack of DeForest Buckner in that game, because they got some edge pressure. They did win sometimes on the edges, but guess what? That doesn't faze Patrick Mahomes. It doesn't faze him at all. He steps up and he sidesteps the interior guys, right, and he keeps the play alive. That guy is completely unbothered by edge pressure. What you got to do is you got to get in his face and make him have to stay in the pocket, and then you can get to him from the edge.
And I will tell you this too. He wants you to do that in those circumstances, especially when Rice wasn't on the field, because he doesn't really trust, outside of Rice and Kelsey, a lot of other dudes, I think, consistently on his offense. So when he's getting in that scramble mode, I think he feels more comfortable.
No, I think you're right. And like him and Kelsey, particularly in that scramble mode, they have been doing that for years. So that's like, they're just out there doing Harlem Globetrotter stuff, And you're right, and Rice as well now. So I don't disagree with you. He's the one guy who, when he's off schedule, he's just as good as when he's on schedule, or I guess not off schedule, but like when he's off his spot, some guys tend to break down when the play breaks down. The play breaks down for Mahomes, and he's just like, this is my element, It is really uncanny. And I do want to say this, okay? I know no one wants to hear it if you're a Colts fan, but do allow yourself to take a step back and just say, the guy is amazing. He is special. I'm just telling you, you are seeing unprecedented quarterback play with Patrick Mahomes. No one else has been able to do what he does in these situations when plays break down. He's one of one. I just want to say that.
He is Stephen Holder of ESPN, ESPN.com. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Did you think Daniel Jones was compromised with his calf fibula? Whatever the hell it is.
Look, I really kind of badgered Shane Steichen on that this afternoon a little more because I told him, I said, Shane, you said fibula, and I got to be honest, I thought all weekend long, I was like, that doesn't make any sense. What is going on with fibula? And he just refused to give any details. And to your question, I thought he looked not quite himself.
The scramble out of bounds, where he kind of walked to the sideline, is the time when I noticed that maybe he wasn't all right.
Tell me another time this season where Daniel Jones has conducted himself that way on a scramble. Name one other time. If anything, we've been like, hey, man, run out of bounds. Be careful. Okay? I'm not saying he's taking like brutal hits, but he tends to finish the play. Okay? He's trying to get every possible yard. That guy, he couldn't wait to get to the sideline on that play. And that's not the Daniel Jones that I've been watching all year. So I am very leery of whatever is going on with him. I don't know if this is a product of the Atlanta game, where he had to have some pretty tough runs at the end of that game. And there were even questions for me sitting in the press box, like, is he okay? Because he got hit pretty hard at the end of that game a couple of times, if you recall. So there was no practice that week, so therefore we had no injury report coming out of the Berlin game. So it's impossible to know unless they tell us and no one's talking. But I do have questions. Yes, I have questions, and I do wonder if some of his inaccurate throws could have been a product of whatever's going on with him physically, but I'm just speculating.
But they didn't have a third, more veteran being Rippon quarterback option made available for them. So I think that eased everybody's mind until, and maybe we do overanalyze it a little bit, but he didn't look like on the run he was nearly the way that we have seen him, especially after knowing what we know, I guess, now, Stephen.
Yeah, and I think the thing to also keep in mind here is after the game, we asked Daniel straight up, like, how are you doing physically? And he didn't say, oh, it's nothing. He said, well, look, if you're good enough to play, you play. Well, that doesn't make me feel any better. So that's all I'm saying.
Yeah. And you get the Texans in must-win mode coming up for the Colts, too, as well as the 6-5 Texans on Sunday. And you watch the way they demolished Josh Allen and the Bills. That didn't make anybody sleep easier, for sure.
No, you're getting two back-to-back desperate teams. All right, that was the reality. I was talking to my colleague at ESPN, Jeff Darlington, before the game yesterday, and he had been doing some reporting with the Chiefs. He's covered them a long time, and he said, look, these guys, like, this is the Super Bowl for them because, like, they know they got to win. They got to have it. And, he just sensed something about them. And I think you know enough about the Chiefs to know how they play in those situations, and you saw it in that fourth quarter. Okay, so now here is another team that is fighting for its life and trying to find its way, and they are responding based on Thursday night. So that is a very powerful thing that you have to fight through. And this Colts team has kind of been on autopilot for a while, right? I don't mean like they weren't taking things seriously. I'm not suggesting that at all.
When things get hard, they've gone away, Stephen. That's problematic,
right,
and that's
but
true.
That's what I'm getting at. This is the first time it's gotten really hard for them where they're like, okay, now you got to fight for your life now. And that is not something they've had to do all year long. So this is going to be very revealing, I believe.
Stephen Holder of ESPN and ESPN.com. He's on the Andy Moore Automotive Group hotline. Always a good Monday. And after a month-long hiatus, we'll see you back in Lucas Oil Stadium coming up on Sunday. Stephen, thank you.
All right, you got it.
Stephen Holder. Anybody work the knowledge on the two-point conversion? Am I right about this? It seems like the Colts give up every single two-point conversion. I can't be the only one that feels that way. I know that, I'm not quite right, certainly not bright, but I cannot be the only one that feels that way. Bill's at 239-1070 up next here. Billy, hello.
JMV, how you doing today?
Outstanding. Thank you for the call.
Looking forward to Brothers Blue Wednesday and everything. Always nice to be in Broad Ripple.
The tradition. It's the you've been a part of this tradition with us for a number of years, man. I can't thank you enough.
Well, I appreciate the opportunity to come to the shows, man. It's always a good time. I couldn't agree with Stephen Holder more. The big case nobody's talking about is, or he's the first one I heard talk about it, was the lack of presence from DeForest Buckner because of his injury.
Yeah.
That you're taking the leader, and I think he's the leader of the defense. You take the leader off the board and everything, and then you're playing the Chiefs in Arrowhead Stadium. That's going to be pretty tough. And another thing about Daniel Jones's injury was, I think when they had a 3rd and 1 there in the fourth quarter, that's the time when I'm used to them doing the quarterback
when
sneak.
he sneaks. Yeah, that is a great point that you're making. Yes,
and they didn't try that either. So of course, who knows what goes on at the bottom of that pile and everything? You'd probably have somebody grabbing his leg and everything and twisting his fibula. But I think that was kind of telling. But I still believe in this team. And with Houston, I think C.J. Stroud. If he didn't, I didn't watch the game against Buffalo and everything, but C.J. Stroud's an awful lot like Patrick Mahomes in the way that he operates. He operates out of the pocket and tries to make things happen on the fly. So they're going to get another dose of that kind of quarterback play with, like you said, a very hungry Houston team. So, hey, it's going to be great to watch. I still believe in the Colts. But yeah, you got to show up against Houston, and they just don't give up very many points. If you score 20 points on Houston and everything, at least in the second part of the season, it's an accomplishment. So we'll see how they respond, and if somebody could file a missing persons report on Alec Pierce, because I think he was the guy that they really needed to try to get the ball to, and the Colts
didn't look at him too much yesterday. Yeah, didn't look at him too much.
They really didn't. I mean, and one of the tendencies, if you're in the tendency camp and everything, and Tyler Warren is the one that kind of stirs the drink.
Hey, Billy, I got to run here, but I will see you on Wednesday, right, buddy?
We will be there.
You got it. Thank you, Billy. Windshield of Spreadability. Find it at your favorite Meijer location, state of Indiana. High-level snacking later on tonight. The Spreadability of Win Schulers. I may even run the numbers, the two-point conversions. Not that it matters, but it does intrigue me a little bit. James, thank you very much. Stephen Holder, Michael Westwood, all of you for being a part of this. We'll do it again tomorrow at 3. Colts Roundtable next. Pacer Hoops coming up after that. 93.5, 107.5, thefan.com. Take a bow. You guys have been outstanding.